Hello, my name is David and I am the vicar of St Mary's Church in Greenham, and we are the parish church for the whole of this area, including where the school is. And I would like to show you today something about the church and what's inside. So join me as we go to explore inside the church. So here we are in the porch of the church, the entrance, and we have some prayers here for the people in Ukraine, thinking about those who are in need of our help at this time and our prayers. And this is open for people to come and pray and leave a message of hope. And now it's time to enter the church. What will we find inside? Here we have the ropes for the bells. For hundreds of years, bells have been used by churches to let people know that there is a service or worship taking place and welcoming people. I wonder what sounds they make. Can you hear? What else can we find? So here we have our lectern, also doubles as a music stand for the musicians. And this is where we place our notes for the services, the Bible and other prayer books. I wonder what you can see on there today. As you can see, we have the Bible here, which is a book made up of lots of different books written by people over many years, telling the story of God and the people of God and how Christians believe that God cares for us and loves us and talks to us. And so we read the Bible during our services. Another thing that we have here is worship. We use all that we have to say thank you to God and say how much we love God. And that can be through music and words and through dancing and lots of other things as well. And as you'll see, we have our instruments here. And in church, we're used to having very modern music with drums and the keyboard and guitars.
So I remember this. Let's go. When you ask, he cares. When you seek, he's there. When you knock, 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 God opens up the door.
But we also have traditional music as well. And you'll see round here, we have our organ. And the organ is played at some of our more traditional services. And you'll see here that there are lots of pipes and they make the noise when you play the organ. You may have been to a baptism or a christening, or may have been christened yourself. And the word christening is used to describe a baptism of a child. And here we have the font. And I wonder what a font is used for. Well, inside we have some water. And water is really important in a baptism. The word baptism means to be drenched, to be completely covered in water. And so sometimes we use this water and sprinkle it over the head of the person being baptized. And sometimes we have a big pool and the person goes right under the water. And that's how it used to be done a long time ago, in rivers, in lakes, or in special pools. And the baptism is a way of either the person themselves or their mummy and daddy saying, we believe in Jesus and we want Jesus to be part of this person's life. and they make promises to care for them and to help them to grow up knowing God and knowing that he loves them. Another place that we find the Bible is in the pulpit. And we don't use this very often now, but this is the place where in the past, the person telling people about God would stand and read from the Bible, and then everyone would be able to see them from where they were standing here, and they would be able to look out and be heard. So in some churches, you'll notice that the pulpit is very large, and that means that they think hearing about God is really important. Ours is quite big, so in our church, it shows that knowing about God is a key part of our Christian faith. And you'll notice that there is a screen behind me where we place the words during the service on a Sunday. So we have the words of the songs and some prayers, and you can see pictures and videos on the screen as well. So the screen is similar to what you have at school. Here we have the seats in the church. Some churches have chairs. We have special seats called pews. And this is where people would normally sit for a service, either on a Sunday or a special service during the week. And here we have a table. This is one table that we use during services. You'll notice on it there is a cross, which is the symbol that Christians use to remind us about Jesus and about what he means to us. And then we have a prayer book here, which has all of the prayers for our communion service. So what does communion mean, and why do we have a table? So let's go and see what we have up here in this end of the church. Now, you may have noticed the church is very long and points towards one end, all the seats face in one direction. And that is because this end of the church points to the east to remind us of the sun coming up on the first Easter Sunday, when Christians believe that Jesus came back from the dead. And so the sun rising on that day is where we point to when churches are built. So churches are generally built in that direction from the past. Churches nowadays are often built in many different ways and shapes and places. So here we have a table, and it has 2 candles on it. You may have candles at home or use one in school sometimes. And then we have here a cloth covering something. What do you think could be under here? What special thing would be hidden under there on a table? What do you use your table at home for? You may sit at it to do your homework. You may sit at it to play games or to have crafts and art. Or it may be that you sit there to eat your meals. I wonder what this table is used for. Well, under the cloth, we find a special plate and a special cup. And these are to remind us of a special meal that Jesus had with his friends a long time ago, about 2,000 years ago. And it's called the Last Supper. And Jesus ate some bread, and this is what is on the plate. And then we have the cup for a special drink. Usually in church we use wine. We also have juice for people who can't drink wine. And for people who don't take communion, we also say prayers for them and have stickers too. But I wonder what you think communion means. Is it about the meal? Well, yes, it is about the meal. But also it's about being together as the people of God, as Christians understand themselves to be. Now, as you can see, our church has lots of paintings on the walls here, and it also has special windows called stained glass windows. And if you can see behind me, there's an example of the stained glass window there. Can you see the pictures on the window? This one here behind me is Jesus learning to be a carpenter as a teenager. So the windows, they tell a story of Jesus and a story about God. On this wall here is the story of Christmas and Jesus being born. And you can just see the Star of Bethlehem on the wall. So the reason for stained glass windows is that many years ago, not many people could read or write. And so looking at the windows would help them to learn the story of Jesus and stories from the Bible about events that were recorded. But why is a church called a church? Well, the word church originally didn't mean the building itself. The word church is a word to describe the people in the church, the people who come, who gather, who believe in Jesus and pray to God. And so that is why the word is really about the people. But over the years, it became used to describe the building itself. And so when you think of a church, do you think of the people in it, or do you think of the building? So here is the outside of our church building. It was built in 1876, a long time ago, by people who wanted to have their church here. There was a church on this site, and they built this one over the top of it and then took the other one away. So for hundreds of years, people have worshipped here, but this church was built by the Victorians. And as you can see, it's still standing today. Well, I hope you've enjoyed your visit to St Mary's Church today. You're very welcome to come and have a look any other time, and on Sundays it's open for people to come and gather together. And now you'll know what people are using and doing in the church.